Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rock M Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. Welcome to the Battle of Columbia's week. The Mayor's Cup. Columbia best versus Columbia least. Missouri, South Carolina, who I still think is, in spirit, Missouri's SEC rival, but your mileage may vary. But however you want to view it, it is the most important game of the season of the week. Nathan Hurst, how you doing?
Doing all right. You know, I've recovered from the excitement from last weekend. It's a little more sobering to look at the next week's opponent, which we'll get into. But you know, all things considered, doing all right at this moment.
Yeah. So we'll touch on a couple of things that might be bringing us pause as far as confidence in this game. Let's kick that off with injury news. We'll start with the big one. Connor Tollison, Missouri's starting center, is out for the year. He got landed on. I don't know if you all watched the game again, but during Theo Weiss's first touchdown catch, Connor Tollison's running along trying to make a block, and a gigantic man from Oklahoma lands on the back of his leg, bringing him down. And apparently that's enough to lose him for the entire season. He couldn't put weight on it as he was getting off the field. And Drake Heismeyer, the senior from St. Charles, came in and performed admirably, but now he is going to have to be the starter going forward. So, bummer. Connor Tollison is a multi-year starter. He's been doing this for a long time, even with the crazy snaps last year. He was kind of an old reliable who had improved this year. So, Hurst, what are your thoughts?
It's a big loss. I mean, outside of Armand Minbu, he's definitely been by far the most consistent offensive lineman this year. And it's amazing to see how far he has come in his career from 2 years ago when he was a liability, but kind of seemed like the only person they could throw out there to play center. Had trouble snapping, had trouble blocking, undersized. To the point, here we are. This was 2022 we're talking about. Now we're at 2024, and he's great. And I've seen a couple of people on Twitter talking about how, draft experts saying that if he were to go into the draft this year, he would be drafted. So that's a pretty amazing.
Wow.
Not necessarily a high pick, but he would
Sure.
be. Yeah, and he's one of the higher rated centers in the entire country this year. So he has had incredible growth and development in his career. Now, on Tuesday, when Drinkwitz was asked about him and did he expect him to come back next year, he said yes, he did expect him to come back next year. But never know. I'm sure Connor will do his due diligence, and best of luck to him, whatever he decides to do. But it's a loss because of the consistency that he brought this year, and that you couldn't necessarily say that for previous years that he's been a starter. But this year he has been steady and as consistent as they come. And in a few games, a downright road grader right up the middle, just really great at the double teams with either guard on the split zone duo right up the middle. And they're going to miss that. They're going to miss that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, from an offensive line grading standpoint, he's dropped back to pass block 277 times, only gave up a pressure 1.1% of the time, 2 sacks attributed to him. Run blocking, 230 run blocks. He's had a blown block on 0.9% of those. So yeah, I mean, 1 penalty all year. That's your starting center. That's your guy. Very athletic, very quick. Kind of knew how to captain the offensive line there, and now he's gone. So that stinks. So what does that mean? Well, I mean, like what any football coach will tell you, next man up. They talk about, when we talk about the offensive line in the offseason, we talk about how deep it was. And really, you've only seen 6 guys play meaningful snaps. Marcus Bryant, Caden Green, Connor Tollison, Cameron Johnson, Armand Minbu, and then Mitchell Walters. And Mitch is not really a center. And in fact, when Connor went out for the Oklahoma game, and when he has been out there's one other game, I believe, Drake Heismeyer is the guy who stepped in every single time. So far this year, Drake has played in 5 games with 83 snaps at center. So he is a 5th year. He's a redshirt. No. Yeah, he's a 5th year. He's a senior. He's shown it up in 10 games, played 164 snaps. That's not a lot, but again, 83 of them have come this year. So he is going to essentially be looked to be the guy for against South Carolina, against Mississippi State, and against Arkansas. Uh, Obviously, he's been in the program for a very long time, as long as Brady Cook. Never been good enough to be the starter, but he saw some time in 2020. He's seen some time throughout his career here. Um, Obviously, you prefer Connor, but how do you feel about Drake coming in as a backup?
I mean, if his performance against Oklahoma, and now it wasn't the whole game, but it was a whole quarter at least. If that performance is indicative of how he's going to play, then the rest of the season, then I think it's going to be fine. Is he going to be? Is the ceiling of an offensive line as high as it is with Connor? No, but he came in and performed admirably. We didn't hear his name called at all, and so I think that's a good sign for an offensive lineman during the game, is to realize not realize that they're there. And so I knew he was there just because I knew that Tolson had left, but beyond that, I didn't notice him, and that's really what you're hoping for. And to be honest, I think the interior of the Oklahoma defensive line is a bit stronger actually than South Carolina's. Now, South Carolina overall, I think, has a better defensive line, but that strength really is on the edges. So matchup wise, it's going to be a challenge, just like any defensive line is in the SEC. But it's if he can hold up all right against Oklahoma, he should be okay. At least he won't be the weak link of the line, I don't think, this week.
Or if he is, we won't know it. That's the hope. So let's see here. That he went out. Is that third? Yeah. So that was the third quarter. So really, from 2:59 left in the third quarter, and then all through the fourth, he was the guy. Drake Heismeyer was the guy. And so far this year, again, small sample size, zero pressures given up, 0 sacks attributed to him, 0 missed blocks in the run game. So keep it up. Keep doing that exact thing. We'll be just fine. So good luck to him. And then let's talk about Brady Cook. We have got the updated injury reports. Obviously, we are aware of Connor Tollison. Mookie Cooper is still not scheduled to come back. You're looking at, let's see here, he is listed as doubtful, which, it's Wednesday, so these things can change. But so far, we have him as doubtful, and we have Brayshawn Littlejohn is questionable. And then the big question is Brady Cook, and he is doubtful. Which last week, he was listed as questionable before being held out. Doubtful, Nathan Hurst. How do you interpret that?
I think it means that he's not going to play, and this is as close to telling us on Wednesday that he's not going to play as they're going to get. But I mean, the news came out Friday last week that he wasn't going to play, which actually surprised me a little bit. I would have expected them to wait till Saturday to announce that. So I wouldn't be shocked if we find out something tomorrow or Friday again that he'll be out. That, if there was a chance he was going to play, they would have just listed him as questionable again, and then could have always held him out just like last week. So he's going to be out at least for another week. It's not a huge surprise.
It's not. And of course, this is a road game against South Carolina. I call it the most important game of the year, of the week, because if Eli Drinkwitz wants to continue to say that they are a playoff caliber team, which again, your interpretation of that may vary, but if he wants to keep saying that, he cannot lose another game. Just can't do it. And really, South Carolina is your opportunity to have the best win of Missouri's season. So if you want it, you can have it. But you have to go reach out there and grab it. And you are going to be doing that with Drew Pine and Drake Heismeyer in the lineup. So let's talk about South Carolina. What do you know about South Carolina? Someone says, tell me one thing about South Carolina Gamecocks. You say what?
Their pass rush is terrifying.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one. So they Shane Beamer and South Carolina have not really been a consistent threat in the SEC. They've mostly been a team that rises up and bites somebody, but trips over themselves on every other game and is mostly ineffective as you close down the stretch. And that, this year, not really the case. In my preview for South Carolina, Nathan Hurst, I said that Missouri knows this team very, very well because we've seen it before. It's 2014 Missouri because it's all big plays on offense and a killer defensive line that leads to a killer defense as well. So if you don't know the name by now, Dylan Stewart is one of the edge rushers there. And then the Kyle Kennard kid, Georgia Tech is the other one. And they just wreck that. They create pressure. They create sacks. They basically win games by themselves because that defense is so havocy. So, maybe the name Lenora Sellers. He is the quarterback who wears glasses, which is awesome. He's kind of a Brad Smith clone. About Rocket Sanders. He was the Arkansas transfer from who actually ended up at South Carolina this year. That the edge rushers. Maybe you don't know the other names though. Can I read some of these names to you, Nathan? Have you seen their roster? It is chock full of excellent names.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I want to pull this up here. South Carolina consistently has the best names in college football. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's a South Carolina thing, but they have on their roster a dude named Gage, a receiver named Mazzeo. They have on their right guard is Torricelli Simpkins the third. A dude named Tonka Hemingway. They have a linebacker named Debo, which is just the most South Carolina name ever, Debo, until you get to their middle linebacker, Bam Martin Scott. Bam Martin Scott. Now, that's not his Christian name, but that's the name that they gave it to him. And then there's a corner named O'Donnell Fortune, which might as well be like an Indiana Jones villain or something like that. I don't know. Got a dude named DQ Smith. They have another corner named Judge Collier, which that is Georgia as hell, Judge Collier. And then a punter named Kai Kroger. And then, of course, for good measure, a running back named Juju. Like, it is just the most backwoods South Carolina's, like, you got a name off of a billboard kind of team, and I love it. These names are fantastic. But of those names, Nathan Hurst, which one scares you the most of everybody on this team?
We talked about the pass rushers. Those guys are far and away the scariest. They've got 16 sacks between just the two names that you talked about, Kyle Kennard, Dylan Stewart. Stewart's only a freshman, so he's going to be around for a while. And he's, I believe, a Columbia, South Carolina native. So the chances that he leaves, transfers are smaller than, other freshmen elsewhere that are elite. So we're going to have to deal with him for a while. Kyle Kennard's a transfer. But I mean, up and down their whole defensive line, they've got 33 sacks between their whole defensive line, which is just a crazy number across the board. Lenora Sellers, you kind of comped him to Brad Smith a little bit, and that really is a pretty good comp. Not the most accurate guy in the world from a passing standpoint, but he runs really well, and he's not just fast but strong. Not going to run you over necessarily, but you're also not going to bring him down with an arm tackle, and that's kind of what Brad Smith. As good a runner as he was, is you can't arm tackle him, and then he's going to run away from you, even though it looks like he's running in slow motion. So and they're similar size too. He's a pretty 6'4", good size. So he's a good player. He's not going to dice you up in the passing game, but he'll move the ball. And when he's got a running back as good as Rocket Sanders is, and we've seen Rocket Sanders in the past, and he's pretty good. That's a pretty nasty 1-2 combination on the offense.
Yeah. Now, Lenora Sellers is 242. That's it's about 10 pounds lighter than KJ Jefferson, who I've always called just a baby hippo. Just impossible to bring down, built low, very heavy, hurts to hit, that sort of thing. And he's fast. Lenora Sellers is fast too. But to your point, he's not the most accurate guy because a lot of their passing is kind of explosion based. So something to keep an eye on there. Now let's start with Missouri's offense, though. This South Carolina defense is the scariest part. There's no getting around that. Defensive ends, you have to do something for them. The thing about this, they are the number 1 team in the country in blitz down sack rate. They're the number 3 team in sacks per drop back, and the defensive line basically produces all the havoc for a defense that needs havoc to win. So when you go up against a defense like this, you got to have a really creative run game. You need something that's going to basically read the defensive line, instead of trying to block them, just read them out of the play. And you need to switch up who that guy is going to be every single play so that they don't have time to like just go. They have to think. It's like, am I getting red here? Am I getting unblocked on purpose? And did I do something? You got to make them question what they're doing and think so that they're not just going on instinct and shooting up the field and knocking you out. So you got to have a scheme that can do that. And Mizzou doesn't really do that. They do zone blocking, right? They're like, hey, we're going right, so everybody just got to block in the right direction or left direction. And so it's going to be difficult. Now, running the ball is the right thing to do because they're not good at stopping the run, but they are good at creating havoc. And if you're trying to create an explosive pass because their defense isn't super great at stopping big plays, are you going to have enough time to do that? Because you have two guys who are coming outside to scare the hell out of you. And frankly, Missouri's left side of the line has not been super great at stopping the pass rush. And now you have Drew Pine. So offensively, how do you feel about Mizzou's chances here?
Not great. Not great. I mean, it's about similar to last week, to be honest. Now they eventually broke through last week and moved the ball in the second half. But that was not with the same type of or same level of pass rush that they're going to face. And it was at home, not going up against a very rowdy 85,000 seat arena that will be loud and they will be pumped up and they'll be ready to go from a crowd standpoint. So it's going to be a very difficult environment to move the ball in. As we said, I said earlier, their interior of the defensive line, their linebackers aren't amazing either. So if you can run the ball up the middle, I think that's going to be your best bet. Also, screens, not something this offense does very much, especially your traditional kind of running back screens. They almost never run those. But if you're going to have players that just pin their ears back and nothing but rush the passer, that's one way you might be able to catch them a little off guard. You mentioned 2014 Mizzou. The one way that defense was caught off guard, screens. You could screen them to death. South Carolina did that to them in 2013. And that's really the entire way. The only way they came back in that game was screen after screen after screen after screen because the defensive line was coached not to care. They're going to get the quarterback no matter what. So maybe this is an opportunity to add something new to the playbook that they haven't seen before, and throw in a screen or two beyond just like a typical wide receiver screen that's out in the flats, because that's kind of that's not really what we're looking to do here.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to throw on them, you can. It's the 41st ranked defense in passing success rate. You can also run on it. They're 72nd in running success rate. Now, the caveats to that is that you don't get a lot of yards when you do. They're pretty good at stopping that. Number one, the defensive line is very athletic and very fast and gets to the ball. And number two, the corners play really, really, really close. They are coached to let receivers fight through contact and force the quarterback to make a deep pass to beat them. And at the college level, that's a pretty smart play. Even the best P4 quarterback is not super consistent at connecting downfield. So if there's one way you have to do it as a corner, that's a great way. Play really close, take away the easy stuff, and make them beat you over the top. So it's a really interesting dichotomy, because when you're looking at this pass, the South Carolina pass defense, it is sixth in the nation as far as passes that go for less than 0 yards, like completed passes that go for less than 0 yards, sixth in the nation. But then they're also like 50th in passes allowed that go for more than 20. So there's really no middle game. And I don't know what Drew Pine likes or what he prefers. But if you want to do the screens, we'll see how these work. Really, it's you gotta get a big pass play. So if that's either via screen or 9 route down the field, this is the time to do it. But do you have the time to do it? I don't feel like this is going to go well, because run the ball is good, but throwing deep shots is not really something that this offense does all that much.
No, and if they're going to do that, because the reason that their defensive backs are coached to play so tight is because they rarely have to worry about going deep, because the defensive line gets home before the quarterback has that opportunity. So if Mizzou's going to go that route, or at least every once in a while, they're going to have to leave at least a couple extra blockers in. Now, we've seen Jamal Roberts be a pretty good in pass protection. They're going to have to leave him in. They're going to have to leave Norfleet in, I think, as well, or one of the other tight ends in, which is great, except that it limits the number of receivers that you're then sending out on routes. That said, if you're confident that on a two-man route that either Theo or Luther is gonna beat their man, that could happen. That could work. We've seen them both do that before, but it's a pretty big risk, even if you do block up a big pass rush. If there's only two guys and they've got four defensive backs covering two guys, that can be tough to get somebody open. And eventually, no matter how well your offensive line is playing, eventually they're going to get home. So it's not an easy decision. I mean, that's why they make lots more. The coaches make lots more money than I do. But it's going to be tough sledding, no doubt.
Yeah. And then you get to Missouri's defense against South Carolina's offense. And again, they are completely reliant on the big play. If you look at what they do down to down, they stink. They're 77th in rushing success rate. They're 104th in passing success rate. If you believe in the EPA stuff, they're 91st, literally 0 points per play. That's tough to do. Whether it's standard downs or passing downs, they stink. But the thing that they do well is that they create big plays, and it's usually through the air, or maybe Rocket Sanders scooting through and ripping off some big yards. But that's what they need. And so if they're in a groove, I've said it many times before. This is a 3-point shooting offense. If you're in your groove and you're knocking down your threes, unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. If those deep plays are reliable, or the defense just keeps missing just a little bit, and those runs are going for 20, like you're cooked. But that's not a reliable way to run an offense. And when they can't do it, they really cannot move the ball. I want to tell a story about South Carolina's offensive line because it's really unique. Last week we went against Missouri, went against a terrible offensive line, and this week they're doing the same. This South Carolina offensive line, oh my God, and blitz downs, 105th in success rate. Their sack rate is 131st in the nation. Sacks per dropback, 133rd in the nation. It's incredible. Their left tackle is a freshman. His name is Josiah Thompson. He has given up 6 sacks and 5.4% pressure rate on the year. And then on the other side, the other tackle, the right tackle, his name is Cason Henry. He's got a 4.9% pressure rate and 2 sacks already. Like, they will give you pressures. They will give you a route to Lenora Sellers. Now, he's moving around. He can be tough to bring down, but like Zion Young, Johnny Walker, if you want another good game, like, this is it. Go get it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we talked last week about how many sacks Oklahoma's offensive line gave up. They had given up, I think, 36 going into last week's game. South Carolina has given up 32 on the year, and that's a lot. I mean, Oklahoma's was outrageous. This 32 is still a lot of sacks. It's more than or about the same that they've actually forced. I mean, maybe a couple less, but or one less than they've actually forced. And we've talked about how good they are at getting sacks. They're just as good at giving them up. And Sellers is hard to bring down, but he's been sacked 25 times. So it is possible and very doable to get a rush on him and bring him down. I think he likes to hold on the ball a lot too, so that's going to make it a little easier to get some pressure on him because, as you mentioned, they're a big play offense. They're looking for big plays down the field. So he's not going to get rid of the ball fast, which is what Oklahoma did all day last week, which limited the sack numbers, I think, more than anything. So it is a gettable offense in terms of if you can get a rush on, limit the big plays. They're not elite by any means. Honestly, this looks a lot like the Texas A&M offense that Mizzou thought they were going to play, and perhaps hopefully would have done better against than the one that they ended up playing when Connor Regman was the quarterback. But this offense looks much more like what I think they were preparing to play then. So hopefully they can take that game plan, whatever it was, because it didn't work. It ended up working, but it was not a round peg in a square hole. But maybe that one will apply in this case. So Rocket Sanders is a good player. He's got 700 yards on the year. But they don't run the ball great, even though they've got some good numbers. They're hardly a huge, big hitting run, or grinded out running game either. It makes it a little more difficult because both the quarterback and the running back can run well. But I'm not worried. I'm really not worried about the defense in this matchup. Now, it could, if the score gets away from them, it won't be because the defense failed. I don't think it'll be because the offense got turned it over a couple times, or just continually, similar to the Alabama game, can kind of continually put the defense in really bad situations.
Yeah. Now the other thing is that Oklahoma, when we were talking about them, I mentioned that they were incredibly lucky when it came to turnovers. The way they played, the number of fumbles that they recovered, the number of interceptable balls they threw. They got really lucky that their turnover rate was where it was. And that my assumption was that at some point it was going to come crashing down, and lo and behold, it came crashing down against Mizzou, which thank you very much. We needed every single one of those to win. South Carolina is different. They are +5 on the year in turnover margin. And you go, okay. So if your mind kind of goes to Mizzou and you go, okay, there's only been like 3 interceptions that Brady's thrown, 3 that Drew's thrown, +5. Wow. Okay. Yeah. 6 and 11. No, you guys, this is not it. This is not it. South Carolina has turned the ball over 14 times. 14 times. Just as a reminder, they've played 9 games. They've given up the ball 14 times. So quick math, +5 in the turnover margin means that they have created 19 turnovers. So it could be a lot. Just because you get an interception or pounce on a fumble does not mean the game is over. That does not mean you broke serve and now you can rest easy. Like, they are going to find a way to turn you over too. So ball security is so important here. And if you want the canary in the coal mine, if Mizzou has not gotten a turnover in like the first 3 quarters, they're probably going to be in trouble.
No doubt. I mean, South Carolina has 11 interceptions, which is a ton. And I think you point directly back to their pass rush because of that. Quarterbacks are rushed. They're in a hurry. They just have to get the ball out because they're about to get leveled. And their secondary is, enjoying balls thrown directly to them because of either tip balls or getting hit while you're throwing it, or just rushing to get the ball out because you don't want to get hit. So that's where the majority of their turnovers are coming, is those interceptions. So Pine needs to be okay with taking a sack as opposed to a turnover, because a turnover or 2 will just spell doom for this team this week. So even if it's a sack on a 3rd down, make it be a valiant, heroic sack. Do not make it worse than it already is. Just tuck it, curl into a fetal position, and live to punt the ball, because punts mean their offense is back on the field and our defense is back on the field, and that is a much better situation than just heaving it up and hoping that something good happens, which against this defense rarely does something good happen.
Yeah. And Mizzou's not really shown an ability to just heave it up and come down with it, other than that one pass to Luther last week. And if Drew tries to play hero ball like he did against Alabama, that's bad. We can't do that. So hopefully he's got the rust knocked off. He's feeling good about reading defenses and goes up one that's pretty close in caliber to Oklahoma. And he did okay there eventually. So, what's your prediction for this game? I mean, if the way I see it, there's going to be Mizzou running a ton, maybe throwing it over the top a little bit, and then South Carolina just trying to Leroy Jenkins their way to some big plays. What do you think is going to happen at the end of the day?
Yeah, I'm not super confident in this one, in this game for Mizzou. That is, I'm worried. I have a lot of worry that there'll be at least a couple, strip sacks. Hopefully, a couple turnovers that will give South Carolina short fields. If they score, especially if they come out and score early in the game, that crowd's going to get going. This team has already shown that they are not good playing in front of raucous crowds. So, I don't think I think it's at the moment a 13.5 point spread, which on its face seems a little high, but I don't think it is. Like, I think this might be something like a 28-10 sort of game where South Carolina wins and wins fairly convincingly. That's what they've been doing the last month anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eli Drinkwitz has never lost to South Carolina as a head coach. This would not be a good week to start that, especially since he keeps talking about the playoff. Do you know the last time that Missouri lost to South Carolina? Do you know what that was?
It was probably 2019, because we lost everybody in 2019, it seemed like. That'd be my guess.
No, that was one of the few SEC teams they beat because that was the fourth game of the year. The last time Missouri lost to South Carolina was that magical 2018 team.
Oh, God.
They went into the locker room during a hurricane, kicked a field goal, and then South Carolina came out an hour later and kicked another one and won it late, 37-35. That was the last time. And that was on the road. So thank you, Barry. No, this game's on the road. You're not eligible to win. Missouri's not eligible to win on the road unless it's UMass. Literally one of the worst teams in college football. I'm going to say it's going to be closer than that. I know Mizzou either wins close or gets pantsed on live TV. But this one's got it's got a trophy next to it, so I think they're going to play a little harder. But if you made me choose, I'm going to say 27-24, South Carolina.
All right.
Turnovers both ways.
All right. Maybe Mizzou gets a couple short fields to score some points. Yeah. I mean, if Mizzou scores 24 points, I think they have a good shot of winning. And if it's a 3-point game, if it ends up being that close of a game, I would actually probably pick Mizzou over South Carolina. In their closer games that South Carolina's played, they've found ways to lose. So their wins have been blowout wins. For the most part, at least the last half of the season. So that said, I don't see it being that close. Just with everything that we've talked about today, it's kind of a perfect storm of really hot team versus team that's got a lot of injuries coming in and just trying to find some sort of magic to happen. I don't know if that works out this week.
Yeah, I mean they got blown out once by Ole Miss, 27-3. But they've beaten Old Dominion 23-19. That was their first game. They lost to LSU 36-33. Lost to Alabama 27-25. But yeah, to your point, 35-9 over Oklahoma, 44-20 over A&M, 28-7 over Vandy. Yeah, they're cooking. They're cooking. And then they got Wofford and Clemson after us. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to rely on these. The numbers guy is going to rely on intangibles. The fact that Eli Drinkwitz just somehow finds a way to keep it close with South Carolina. And at some point, Gamecocks are going to spit the bit. It's the style of play is going to catch up to them, which I guess it already has, but in an embarrassing way. So I still don't think Mizzou's going to win, but I think it'll be close.
If Mizzou does win this game, it would be without a doubt one of Eli Drinkwitz's best coaching jobs of his career.
It has to be, yeah.
With everything that has happened this season, with all the injuries, with what South Carolina has been at this point this season, it would be an outstanding coaching job. We'll see. It could happen. Is it impossible? No, but it's things are not looking super positive at this moment.
Yeah. If Mizzou wins, it's going to be like Drew Pine, another 3-touchdown day, or Nate Noel went for over 100, or Johnny Walker got 3 sacks or something like that. It's going to have to be like that. So
winning turnover battle 2-0.
Yeah.
Probably not turn it over and get them to give you a couple short fields, I think is the only way that it's going to work.
Yep. Yeah. So good luck, guys. This one is not a night game, so you don't get to drink all day, but it's 3:15. So 2:15 Central, 3:15 Central, 4:15 Eastern, so a little bit later in the day, and Williams-Brice Stadium in the worst Columbia in South Carolina. So that's tune in, see what happens. We'll touch base with you guys afterwards and tell you everything that we thought about it and what it means going forward. But that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nate G. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.